classical conversation today is with Russian concert pianist Andrei Gavrilov. Andrei came to the public's attention in 1974 when he won the International Tchaikovsky competition in Moscow, and he's been playing to great acclaim ever since. And I'm delighted that he's joining me here at Monkton Combe School in Bath. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Lovely to be here chatting to you. I'm going to start by asking how old you were when you began, what was the catalyst, whether you come from a musical family.
Yes, that's very trivial. The musical mom, she was a pupil of Neuhaus,
Oh,
a
yes.
very famous
Yes.
teacher in Moscow Conservatory, and I'm constantly was surrounded by music, but it happened accidentally. I had the live radio transmission of Mozart Requiem and was absolutely shattered. I was 3 years old. I was scared by confutatis and absolutely crushed by lacrimosa. I cried and cried and
Yeah.
cried and cried. Really, a very sensitive kid was I. Then next day I just came to the piano and started to play lacrimosa and confutatis.
Gosh.
And to a great surprise of my mom, I never touched the piano. She was. I had an older brother, and he was already in the Central Music School, and my mom was very busy with him because Central Special Music School, it's the very school from where all big Russians came, and so it's very difficult to learn from the very beginning, from the first day. It's a very hard program and
Yeah, sure.
hard training. I mean, they are, all mothers and all families are involved when they're kid in Central Music School. Those days, now it's different. And so I was still mostly having fun time with my toys. But since I since I played this couple of numbers from the Requiem, and my mother said, "Can you go further? Can you continue?" And I started to continue. Well, of course, it was not the full scale two-handed playing, but it was still quite impressive, and that's how it started. Next day I was already there.
But which teachers then? There must have been a teacher or teachers that were crucial in your development.
There were several, because I mean there are many parts, many dimensions of developing a musician. It's a pianistic mastership. It's also the musicianship, which is totally different. I mean, the pianist is training. It's about training, about methodology and things like this. And for that, irreplaceable was the Central Music School, because they were basing on the best combined traditions of German, French, and Russian school of 19th century. This school was created by Golden Weiss, a very important teacher, friend of Tolstoy, Leo Tolstoy, and a beautiful, beautiful pianist of the 19th century. He lived long life, and even I reached him when he was in the conservatory. He was in his 80s or 90s or so, but he grounded the Central Music School in 1928 as a new era of those days, new Soviet free state. And there were a lot of idealism invested in there, and there were a lot of hopes in the beginning of Soviet Union, which all unfortunately went down. It was I mean, the idea was good, but it was too early. We need to wait a couple of thousand years for such a state where there's no money, where everybody is honest, everybody is respecting each other, everybody is loving each other, everybody is giving, the total giving society. Maybe one day. So this school was combining the best of the best, and it was crucial for developing as a pianist.
Yes,
After finishing this school, you can play everything. I mean, you can play like this, you can play like this, you can play like this, you can play with your legs, feet, whatsoever.
Yeah, I can imagine.
We were trained like monkeys.
Yeah.
Then the rest of the Russian school, they hated us because when the team from Central Music School, was going to the conservatory.
Yeah.
Again, this Central. they're going to take 99% of the places, no chances. And it was true. It was true.
But how did you develop your technique?
It's difficult to explain because, well, it is not difficult to explain, but for that you have to go through the whole process, which is the process of education in Central Music School was 12 years. They were putting in all these 12 years a very special program which was developed during almost 100 years. It's the position of the body, position of the head, training your nerves with a very special tricks, and there are so many, the millions of different dimensions of preparing the best athlete, if you wish.
Yes.
The best of the best, who could stand any pressure.
Yeah.
Playing in space and whatever. So it's really difficult to tell him in the interview. So half a year was dedicated to finger technique, half a year was dedicated to elbow technique, shoulders technique. Then it was every quarter of a year we had a special exam for a special technique. Let's say in the 7th grade, seventh class, as I said, 7 years of your education, we had, and after each exam it was a filtration, like 20 people would be taking an exam, the next day 10 people would be out of the school. It was very brutal system.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, very brutal. Then it would be another 10 entering for next year, and then the filtration was really, and no mercy at all.
And hours a day, I presume.
Yes.
You were told exactly
we
how
were
much to...
we were in school since the very first class, from 8 o'clock in the morning until 7 in the evening.
Wow.
And it was all in one building, all kinds of education.
Amazing.
Yeah, very special. It was, and the school was built on the backyard of the Moscow Conservatory. It was also done on purpose. Yeah. So we, little kids, could be inspired seeing, let's say, people like Shostakovich or shaking their hands. They were coming to us, to our backyard, having cigarettes. Those days they all smoked.
Yeah, of course.
So we constantly were seeing Rostropovich, chatting with Shostakovich, Khachaturian, all these kind of people. And it was becoming normal for us being among those gods. So when we were in our early teens, we were already kind of a part of this family.
Of course.
That was also the psychological thing which worked very well.
So you won the Tchaikovsky Prize. What impact did this have on your career? Because it must have been tremendous. Right, yeah.
Next week I was in Salzburg replacing Richter, who couldn't go there, and had a fantastic success there. And it's all started. I was invited everywhere, and since that.
Yeah. So do you believe that competitions are still good for youngsters today, or do you think yes? Do you think we've moved on from that now?
Yeah, I think there was a different era those days. It was just the beginning of competitions. I mean, you cannot run thousands of competitions and producing all the time geniuses.
No.
I mean, for example, look at the history of Tchaikovsky competition. There are only five competitions they survived on the level which was established at the first Tchaikovsky competition in '58, when Van Klaber was the first prize. Then it was John Ogden, Ashkenazi, and then my competition '74, where Andrei Gavrilov was only fourth. And hardly survived until third round. It was so strong. Really, but we were all post-Second World War generation, and a lot of the moral and psychological, metaphysical forces accumulated after great suffering of the whole planet. And that produced, as well in street culture, like the Beatles, Rolling Stones, and all the hippie movement. It was a very creative time. But then, when it became regular, and the number of competitions grew enormously in a space of 10, 12 years. And it turned to be very corruptive. Instead of promoting the real talents, it's just became an industry, a part of the so-called music industry, which I hate. I mean, people say music industry, not understanding that it's contradiction. I mean, the industry and music does go together. I mean, music, the industry goes with the trucks or tanks or whatsoever, but industrialization of music making, this is absolutely crazy. This is still a very rare product. And it's still done by unknown forces and an unknown combination of circumstances, but definitely not on the belt. And in our days, it's just a running belt, like like the cheap Ford productions. Doesn't go. I think. In 21st century, we need a total rebranding of music. First of all, we have to get rid of music industry, of all this stupid combination of senseless words. We have to get rid of music money connection, because there are a lot of musicians who are just going to this business for living. And not understanding what they actually ought to do. They have actually, to my opinion, the beginning musicians, they have to play for years for free, like a priest.
Absolutely.
So when they will acquire the love and need from people, when people will be needing them, then they could be paid for their service, and that would be just normal. Instead, we have completely vice versa crazy situation. The teenager who is running fast passages are paid enormous fees all over the world, traveling around and spoiling and corrupting young audiences, because they all think that that's all about music, just to play fast and precise. And the music is industry, or at least nice entertainment. Finito la commedia. We have to come back to the values of music. Music is, in fact, a secular religion. If after the concert, my philosophy is, after the concert, people who came together with you, and you're transmitting the geniuses to them, if they are not changing for good after the concert and during the concert, I mean, if it's not a lifetime event for the audience, every concert, it's a bad concert, then it's a charlatanism, nothing else.
Do you have a particular practice regime?
Yes, I do. As much as possible.
What do you do? Do you have a specific way of warming up, or do you just go straight into bits?
I'm always warm. Hot, not hot.
Okay.
It's said in the Bible, one of my beautiful passages. I think it is from it's from Apocalypse. There is a verse which says, because you're warm, reject you. If you were cold or hot, I would have loved you. But because you're only warm, I reject and hate you. So I'm hot.
Which composers do you love to play?
You know, there's so few
Really?
geniuses. Really few. A handful.
Yeah.
Since Bach, I mean, how many we could really call the geniuses? We all know who are them.
Okay.
Bach, Mozart, Beethoven,
Yeah.
Schubert, Chopin, and well, would be. I don't want to give numbers, but they're very few for 300 years.
Yeah.
So I love them all.
You retired from the concert platform for a while, and then you came back. What prompted your return, and why did you decide to stop?
Because it was a very important decision, and a crucial decision of my life. In the beginning of the 90s, I started realizing that I'm becoming the part of the music industry. And I became a perfect industrial boy, having what I was laughing at as the big and important agents. I like to say that you have a solid and steady career. That's what I had, solid, steady career. The regular recordings, regular world tours, and no development at all. And you're just getting older, you're just getting more and more experience. You slightly developing in the way of being master of manipulating and pleasing audience. But it has nothing to do with art, again. And in this phrase of being part of music industry, you cannot move. First of all, you cannot be free with your spirit and your ideas, because you have to follow certain rules, and there are many. Secondly, you cannot move forward the music itself. If you look back for the performing arts, we are doing the same for 200 years. It's rattling and rattling and rattling and rattling and rattling, and it doesn't go forward. Therefore, I decided that I have to do something radical, to say goodbye to well-being, and start my life from the scratch, and die, or find new ways of developing music, developing performing arts. And I knew that I would be alone. I would be bye-bye wealth alive. Hello poverty. But it was difficult. I was suffering a lot because I was spoiled a lot for certain lifestyle for a couple of decades. Then I got accustomed to my new situation, and I was starting to search and listen myself, and I didn't find much interesting. So then...
But you found a way back, you came back.
Oh yeah, because it was also decided those days, in the beginning of 90s, I will come back only when I will be so rich, in a different way.
In a different way, yes, of course. Yeah.
Then I could share with the rest of the world for the 1,000 years the ideas, the new things, new sounds, and turn every single meeting with the audience to a lifetime event. Only when I will feeling confident that I can do it, and then come back. So I had to work hard to achieve that. It didn't work for a long time. In '93 I quit, and the first try I've done in 2001, already in 21st century.
Yes.
But I stopped really working only, last couple of years.
Okay, that's interesting. You're giving masterclasses here today. What do you love about teaching?
Oh, that's the same. The part of the sharing. Sharing.
Yeah.
Sharing what I learned, being able to share, knowing that what I'm sharing with guys, with students, nobody can, because nobody went this way. I mean, the guys from the music industry, they can share different things.
Yes.
And therefore, me, who was always rejecting the idea of teaching, I do it only 2 years. I do it only 2 years and do only master classes and do it not more than, let's say, 4 or 5 times a year. But this is kind of a different dimensional space flight, what I try to achieve during our gathering together with youngsters. It's not like you have to play this phrase like this and this and this and that. I mean, this is all scholarship. What I try to share is, first of all, give the keys to the guys to be able to read the text, because nobody can read the text. Reading the text is the crucial thing. We all know the word interpretation, and this is a very tricky one, because interpretation is mostly appealing to your intuition.
Yes.
One is feeling like this, another is feeling like this, another is feeling like this, and we have thousands of interpretations which has nothing to do with the piece. But
Yes.
so they all express in themselves in different way, which is wrong perception. What I'm positive, and I proved that it's possible to do, is to drag from the text the real meaning of the composer. The composer, when he puts something on paper, I mean, the genius composer, the real composer, who are rich, those kind of composers. From those composers, every note has a meaning and content. And from text, if you're able to read the text, enormous amount of information and knowing how to read the text and knowing what composer is using which technique to express particular thing. Every composer has different tools for expressing himself, Beethoven or Chopin or Rachmaninoff. Well, Rachmaninoff, for reading Rachmaninoff, for example, you ought to know the Orthodox culture. If you don't know the religious consciousness of Orthodox believer, I mean, forget about Rachmaninoff, because it's Rachmaninoff himself and all his music is a Russian religious soul, nothing else. With all the quotations from the church services, from the Russian nature, also filtered through the Christian mind, through the Christian consciousness, but a very special one, the mixture of Byzantine and the Russian Eastern Mongolian mixture of what actually produced very strange phenomenon as Russian Orthodox Church. And he was actually himself, he was representing the church and Orthodox belief. And that's what the 99% of his music is, except of some jokey or jazzy stuff, which is would be, let's say, 1% of the entire literature of Rachmaninoff. The rest would be this, and you have to know this.
Yes.
How do you have to know that? First of all, you have to study this. Secondly, you have to go to Russia and live there. Then then you're able to play.
Yes.
If you don't do this, forget about Rachmaninoff. Same with any other.
Yeah, sure.
If you are not drinking beer with a German baller in the German village,
Sure.
you wouldn't know what Bach is writing about. And there's half of Bach is German songs. Still living, still singing, still being sang. And then you can, and also you have to learn the Protestant approach and all the things which were connected with the Luther and the time and going deep in the Bach-Pantist mind through the prism of being rejecting the Catholicism and on the German soil. That produced the environment where it was all created, but you have to know where the seeds are to be able to read the text again. And it is a very, very, very complex task.
Yes.
And that's what I share.
Yeah. What does playing the piano mean to you?
Sharing love.
Thanks so much for joining us. Thank you.
My pleasure.